So, I'm so glad that this has worked this way. David Allen Cruz, there's like a 1, 2, 3 here. David Allen Cruz really set up the whole day, and then Kevin gave me what I needed to launch into. And if I sing, you are the music. Now, obviously, Maltby Shire wrote that song about their fathers, or whichever one of them was the lyricist. I think it was Shire. About the idea that we get from our father, in this instance, so much. You know, I like to think that Will and Nora have watched Kevin and I and their mothers do things. Right now, their mother is in the middle of the Pacific Ocean, rowing from Monterey to Hawaii. It's a 3-month almost row, and it's just her and Liz Dicus on a boat. And they never stop rowing. And they're in second place. Out of 8 ships, 2 have already gone, have stopped. There's only 6 ships left. And most of them were all 30-year-olds and 20-year-olds, gung-ho, and there were these 2 60-year-old women who are now in second place. So that's pretty amazing. So I'd like to say that, Will, driving over here, said, when I look at you and Kiki and Mom, and I think about the 3 of you, I don't know, three people who are more aggressively involved in their lives. He said, and that's how I want my life to be. So our children, they look at us and they see what they want to become. We are, as David said, we are their first heroes, the fathers, the mothers of the world, aunts, uncles, whoever it is that raises these children, all the teachers in Guatemala, all the people that stand there and show the way. So if I sing, you are the music, that which came before me. But when you back it all up, if I sing, you are the music. If I love, you taught me how. If I reach, you are that which is reaching. When we back it all the way up to the number one father of all time, Father Time, you come to God. Whatever version of God you want to see in your mind. You come to that essence, that creative essence from which everything came. Now, I don't pretend to know what that is, how it happened. I don't pretend to know any of that. But I feel it. I don't have to know it, but I do feel it. I feel the energy that is inside of me at all times. I feel that thing that drives me. What drives me? People ask me that all the time. What drives you? Where do you get this energy? I don't know. But I know it's there, and I know it's what I am. Ernest Holmes said this, the spirit of man is God. The spirit of God, which we think of as the Heavenly Father, is a divine presence. So the spirit of man is God, and the spirit of God is this divine presence that we have called Heavenly Father for so many years. And I know many people have a problem when we go to this God the Father stuff because it brings up a Christian upbringing, perhaps, or a Catholic upbringing, or even a Jewish upbringing that we've turned away from. And yet, my whole feeling is that we need to turn back to the Father. Turn back to that essence of who we are. Turn back to some of the religions we've discarded because we weren't happy with them. Why? Because they were being taught to us by people that didn't understand them in the first place. But now there's a way to look at these religions, as we will do this summer in our world religion class, all summer long, every Wednesday night, 7:30 to 9:30. One of our new ministerial students, along with David Allen Cruz, will teach a specific world religion, and you will see that we are all literally born from all of it. And that's what we get to celebrate today. Something moves us, something animates us, something lives us at all times. Something is living you right now. Something is living you, moving through you, thinking you at all times. It's you. It's not this anthropomorphized God out there. It's the God in here that is what I am and lives me. It's that great moment in Lion King. Broadway reference. When Mufasa sings, "He lives in you," and I saw the very first preview of this in Minneapolis. Was that it in Minneapolis? In Minneapolis, and before we all knew that an elephant was going to walk down the aisle, I didn't. And that elephant came right next to me because Kevin got us incredible house seats. And that elephant came down the aisle, and I'd never seen anything like it. I thought it was an elephant. Even though I'm bright and smart, I knew it wasn't an elephant. But when Mufasa sings, he lives in you. And the way Julie Taymor did it, how many of you have seen Lion King? Okay, if you haven't, what are you doing? Where have you been? That moment, he lives in you, is so exactly what I'm talking about today. There's something living in you that lives you. So the title of my talk today is SIMPLIFICAR. Is that right, David? SIMPLIFICAR. Yes. Is that it? SIMPLIFICAR. These kids really were having a rough time with me this last week because I was trying to speak them in Spanish. Nora, on the way home from the airport late last night, Nora said to Kevin, she said, you know, finally he just started using primal noises that no one understood. He was like, It was true. So anyway, it's SIMPLIFICAR. Something like that. And what it means is simplify. Simplify. And it was funny because, of course, Connie hunts me down in a rainforest to ask me for my talk title. And so I immediately wrote, I think I'm going to do Father Knows Best. And Jonathan Sens is sitting next to me. And he went, I looked at him, I showed him my email. I said, I think I'm going to call my talk title Father Knows Best. He said, you're very tired. I said, you might want to move on to something else. He said, not Father Knows Best. And I was like, I know, it's great. I have a whole idea of what it's going to be. He says, you're tired. And he said, give it about 20 minutes and then get back to me. So I waited. And then I went, God, that was a lame title. And then something happened. And I'm going to tell you what happened. So we were teaching in the, let me look here. So we were teaching. Every day, I got to teach a brand new song, which you will eventually hear, called Wherever I Am, I'm Home. And I wrote this song for myself because I was having fear leaving the United States to go to another country. I was having fear, not for me. I had no problem doing this 2 years ago. I went with Bob Morrissey and everybody from the church and it was like, we were fine. I never even gave it a second thought. But when I was bringing my 17-year-old, 16-year-old daughter there, all of a sudden, I was right in the middle of all these bad movies where bad things happen. And I just kept thinking, what am I doing? I'm taking my prized possession, one of my 2, 3 prized possessions. Well, if Kevin went, I would have been totally fine. He'd have protected me. But and it changed. The whole experience changed for me. It did. So I wrote this song, Wherever I Am, I'm Home. And it's a really fun, peppy little song that most of us by the end of the week wanted to shoot ourselves if we ever heard it again. Because the kids, once they learned it, they walked around, whenever they saw me, they'd go, uh-oh, and start singing the song to me. I was like, And it just happened all week. And then the final day on Friday, we did a huge video with 250 kids singing it out in the middle of their gymnasium, which is actually outdoors. It was amazing. But this one day, after I had taught like about 4 classes in the morning, and as many of you know, the classrooms, and you will see it, the classrooms it's 120, 130 degrees. You're sopping wet in these classrooms. And some of the classrooms I went to this time, before they gave me a classroom, which I think they were really, really nice to me, gave me a classroom that had air, just floating through it. And not air conditioning. But this time I had to go into all the classrooms. And there were some that were like really dark, and there's 40 kids in there, and I'm trying to teach a song, and it was pretty daunting and pretty amazing, because no matter how dark it was, there was light coming out of these kids. And it was just so overwhelming, it's hard to explain. Anyway, so this one day I got a break. Somebody said to me, you're off for about an hour. You don't have to teach a class for an hour. I said, okay. So I took a walk, and I still didn't have a talk title. Father Knows Best. I'd already decided. Jonathan was correct. I was tired. So I walked out by myself, and as I was walking by myself into the forest, I got to the river, and it was just so gorgeous, really gorgeous. And this little boy comes running by me singing the song and laughing and saying something to me. I don't know, I just said, see, and he just kept going. And as I stood there, I heard this voice. inside of me, and it just said, simplify your life. And I was like, wow, okay. I just stood there, and I just kept hearing it over and over, simplify. And you ever get one of those messages where you just hear something? Simplify. And do you ever, if you're like me, you're like, what does that mean? I mean, literally, I was like, what? What do you mean simplify? This is simplify? And it was like, simplify. And what I really heard was this: I am much simpler than you think. I am much simpler than you think. I am much simpler than you think. Did you get that? Yeah. I am is much simpler than you think. We are making such an immense complexity out of God. We are making God so difficult to understand, first by having a problem with the word. We are making this idea of the Father energy so hard to comprehend and live. I am much simpler than you think. So I got that message, and I went back, and I tried to find somebody who understood English along the way. Wasn't working. And I was like, simplify. And they're like, simplify. And then finally I started making it up. I said, simplificado? And they're like, simplificado. So I went to Jonathan. I said, I think I'm going to call the talk simplificado. And he said, is that a word? I said, I think it's Spanish for simplify. He went, why don't you ask someone, because that might not be right. So we found someone, and I was like, simplificado, and they're like, no, simplificar. I was like, oh, okay, good. So that was the gift. That was the gift for me in the jungle. So, in the rainforest. Jungle is one of the lyrics in the song. So, it's the last day, we finish it, and if any of you, most of you probably don't know this about me, but I have a little bit of a control freak left in me. Hard to believe, I know, but yeah, I know most of you are like, wow, I never knew that about him. So, in fact, when I got there, the woman that runs the place, Heather, who's a beautiful woman, she turns to the teachers and she says, this is how she introduces me. She says, this is Reverend James. He is very strong. He will take over your entire class. Just say yes, it's easier. I was like, wow. I don't see myself that way, but all right. So, as it turns out, it did kind of work that way. But Friday, I woke up and I said, okay, there's more for me to know. Simplify. I am much simpler than you think. What do I need to do today? And then what came back to me was, drop all of your control stuff. Because 2 years ago, Bob knows, it was really getting 250 kids to sing We All Pray the Same. It was difficult, and I was like, I'm not doing that this time. I'm going to be about the experience of it. I'm not going to care what the cameras shoot. I'm not going to go nuts. I'm not going to make the kids sing it 20 times till I like it. I'm just not going to do it. So I didn't. I decided to play American Idol with them. And I said to the teachers, I said, here's the deal. I'm going to do each class separately, 3rd grade, 4th grade, 5th grade, 6th grade. Whichever class wins, I will buy, whatever it costs, I will buy them all, whatever, they have a break and they all get to go get candy and soda and stuff. I said, I will pay for every one of them to go have their a whole nother event. And they were like, oh, great. So every class did their thing, and it was great. And then I made the teachers do it, and all the teachers came in and did it, and it was so much fun. And I felt like I actually I got rid of the Kraken. I dropped the Kraken. And I had a really good time. At the end, 2 teams tied. And the teachers all looked at me and went, you do both teams. They said that in Spanish. I just did it in English with an accent. So, dos. I said, yes, I'll pay for everyone. Everyone have a drink on me. And it was so much fun. So we finished that, and you're going to see that, because we will do the video of that, and you will see what you all brought to Guatemala. So then we went to a hot springs. Bobby, I know you were there. I wasn't there last time. We went to a hot springs, and everybody came back and told me about this hot springs where, and actually, can you pull that up now, Matthew? Do you have it on there? Just keep talking till you find it? Sure. So we went to this hot spring. Oh, there it is. So there's the hot springs. Now, my son was like, oh, Dad, that's not so high. I said, look how little the people are at the bottom. It's a 40-foot jump. And so in these hot springs, they all told me about this great thing where they all went and climbed up these hot springs and then jumped off down. And I was like, wow, that would be hard for me. So we all went to this hot springs, and we're all, oh, look, this is perfect. We're all like way down there, and it's like really hot springs, like boiling hot. We're all way down there, and you can't really see it, but there's this vine, roots coming down from this tree all the way to the ground. And they're all talking about climbing up it. And I was like, and I'm looking at these vines, and it's a straight climb up, and I'm like, are you insane? What do you mean? Bob Morrissey climbed those 2 years ago? I was in shock. I know, and Ripsime, but wait, you're missing my point. I did say Ripsime too. I was like, if Ripsime climbed that, I would really be embarrassed if I don't climb this. So, but then I decided no. I was like, you know what? I don't succumb to peer pressure. I am God. God decides what it chooses to do. And I was sitting in the water, and everybody was leaving, and I was like, nope, I'm fine. I love the water. I'm loving the hot. It's all really good. So I just stayed, and I watched them. Now, I had seen these roots. You see the tree to the right in the center? And you see the water coming down? Those are all roots. I was sitting there thinking that they were going up these roots. Well, you can't see it because of the light, but there's actually a path over here that goes that way up and looks pretty easy. I know it wasn't because I did it. So I finally said, oh, I can do that, and I can climb back down. I don't have to jump. I can just climb back down because it wasn't rainy. You could get back down. So I climbed up with everybody. Everybody climbed up. And then the first person jumped in. And then my daughter jumped from the top. And I was like, Nora, it's the last day. We made it this far. I was like, do you really think jumping 40 feet down into a shallow pool of water is the best way to end this trip? And she was like, yes. And she just jumped and came back up and said, Dad, come on, it's really fun. And I was like, I'm teaching this book called Big Magic, Beyond Fear. And I was like, okay. So, and then I hear this voice again, and it was like, simplify. Simplify this. Take this down to its basic root. Basic root. And I just went, do I really believe that I'm going to get hurt doing something so beautiful and so freeing? And I was like, no, I don't. So I went down. I decided to be next to the last because there was a very big, muscular bodyguard type who was going to go last. I thought, good, you go after me. That way, if I do hit something, you can jump right in and save me. Be lovely. He was very handsome, too. I thought that would end my week. Lovely. So, no offense. So, right before me was Jonathan Zenz's fiance, Dane. And Dane got off to the edge of the cliff, and I want you to know right now my hair is standing up all over my body. He's standing at the edge of the cliff, and he's got one of those cameras in his hand, because he's going to film himself jumping down. And I was like, why don't you let go of the camera? And he couldn't do it. He was just like, I can't do it. I can't. It was really high. He can't do it. I can't do it. I said, you do not have to do it. Why don't I walk you down? And then I hear Jonathan saying, like, he can walk himself down. And I was like, no, Dane, you know what? And I helped him up, and then I went down, and I just stood there. And you know what? Here's what happened, to be really honest. That thing inside of me was gone. I was like, oh, Jesus, God. And I just jumped. I literally jumped, flew through the air, dropped, hit the bottom of the water, pounced back up. I was so good at this, my bracelets fell off. I got them, put them back on before I came out of the water. I was amazed. I amazed myself. I was like, Dad. It was amazing. So, the reason I'm telling you this story, besides the fact that it was just fun and a funny story, was because I think very often in life, we are constantly seeing paths that look like this, straight up vines that are just absolutely impossible to climb, when right next to it is this simpler way. There's the path. It's right in front of you. You're just focused on what looks so hard. And I can tell you this, one of the things my father said to me, he used to say to me a lot when I was growing up that I made things harder on myself. He said, Jimmy, if there was the easy way and the hard way, you'd always find the hard way to do it. And I'd be like, and so it is. I didn't say that then, but looking back, I realized that was an affirmation of mine. This is going to be hard. This is going to be hard. And you know what? I thrived on it being really hard and me being able to do it. That was imprinted on me as a young man. I'm not saying my father did that in a bad way. I think what he was trying to say is, look at the path over here. Don't climb that one. Try this. So, as we celebrate this Father's Day, and the idea of simplification, simplifying one's life, there's a great quote in the Bible, and it says something to the effect of, the Father doeth the work. There is that within you that's doing the work. I think it's me. It's not. When I sing, God is the music. When I open my mouth to sing, what comes out is creativity, spirituality, what I was born to do. When you open your mind to think, it's not your brain thinking, it's the consciousness behind the brain, and that's God. When you are creative in any way, if you're an accountant, Ray Frisbee, when you're looking at the numbers, it's God looking at the numbers. We make it so hard because we think we're the ones doing it. Watch me do this, as opposed to, I'm going to get out of the way and let that within me, let the Father doeth the work. Simplify, simplify, simplify. I know many of you have things going on in your life right now that are perhaps difficult, challenges that you may be going through. How often do we really turn it over? Really turn it over. That's what the Father doeth the work is all about. That's what let go and let God means. Let go and let God doesn't mean to hope that someone's coming along to save you. Let go and let God doesn't mean that suddenly you don't have to do anything. Let go and let God, or the Father in me doeth the work, means that you trust and you know that when you jump, you will land. Because there's that in you that always does the work. There is that in you that when you get out of the way and say, yes, I turn it over. I turn it over to my highest self. I turn it over to a consciousness in me that knows more than I could ever know. People do ask me, where do you get all this energy? You know what? The energy of the universe is inexhaustible. I am the energy of the universe. Why would I be exhaustible? Because I've bought into it somehow. I don't wake up in the morning and think, how much energy am I going to have today? I better parcel. Think about it. No, I just go. Because I can, and so can you. Any issue you have going on inside of you, turn it over to the Father that doeth the work. And that means let something in you know what you need to know. Let something in you jump if you need to jump. Let something in you do what you need to do. Let something in you cry if you have to. Let something in you get upset for a moment, but still let that something in you say, I get your emotion. Now back it up and see what it's about. Let something in you live this life that we call new thought in a way that can benefit you financially, health-wise, creatively, relationship-wise. Let something in you be the life that you're living, as opposed to trying to get it out there. These little kids in Guatemala, they don't have their PlayStations. They don't have stations. They don't have beds. We were cutting up styrofoam to give them new mattresses. Those mattresses were like the size of this paper when we threw them out. And yet, I have never seen more cheerful children. I see kids playing with cans that have been crushed on the ground, playing games that they're making up. and they're having fun. I see little kids there walking around, holding each other and laughing, not fighting, saying, give me that, give me that. And I'm not trying to compare country to country. But I'm saying if we could simplify this a little bit. Those kids none of those children had phones. They took ours a lot, but none of those children had phones. They didn't. No one was texting at all. They were looking, talking. Simplify, simplify, simplify. I'm not saying, please don't think that I'm saying that these devices are bad. They're not. We must grow into the technology that we have. But we also need to know when to put it down. We need to know when it's time to reconnect, when it's time to really talk to one another. Letting the Father in me doeth the work, that means getting back to basics, getting back to love. Orlando won't happen when people get back to love and stop dividing countries into two ideas. One idea, love. How about that? Just love. So, on this Father's Day, as I bring you this picture, there are places in the world that look like this. You can't tell, but underneath that center rock, if you swim underwater and go up underneath it, you're in a natural sauna. And you stand on a rock and you are literally in a natural sauna. And Nora and I just stood in there for so long. And Nora said to me at one point, we're standing in this sauna, and I turned to her and I went, wow, your skin looks so glowing. And she said, don't you wish we could just stay in here forever? And I said, no, I don't. I'm getting a little hot. But I said, no, but I know what we can do. We can take this consciousness with us wherever we go. We can take this place with us wherever we go. In a very poverty-stricken country, this is just simply living there, just simply existing there. And that's just here. I wonder what's in North Hollywood that we've never seen. Seriously. Where is there a part of North Hollywood that we haven't seen yet because we don't look? I got up this morning and walked my neighborhood because I was like, okay, I've walked this every day. Now, what have I not seen? I saw so many things I hadn't seen before. I stopped and looked at some flowers I hadn't even known were there before. Simplify, simplify, simplify. If we can simplify, guess what's going to happen? The complexities of life are going to come bubbling up. But I think if we keep living in this complex idea of what it's all about, we miss the point that the Father within is willing to do the work if we're willing to do the work of getting out of the way. That's my Father's Day wish to each and every one of us, that we get out of the way so profoundly, so on purpose, so intentionally, that we let that thing in us literally bubble up and create in our lives a very breathtaking, panoramic scope of what our lives are. All the people in it, the places in it, the things we do in it, every aspect of my life, allowing it to just be fed, be fueled, be lived by that in me that knows how to live. Because I've got a lot of living to do from Bye Bye Birdie. I've got a lot of living to do, and I really intend on living it fully. That was our original mission, vision statement here. Live life to the fullest. And I intend to live it fully, and I intend to see as much of this planet as I can before I literally waste off this mortal coil lived out. And that will only be my body that lives out, because my consciousness will still be raring to go. It will never stop, and that's true for every single one of us. So let's take this Father's Day, let's turn it in, let's know what's inside of us, let's tap into what's inside of us, let's decide to let it live us, let's decide to get out of the way of what we think we know and allow it to know more through us, and then let's take that and take it out into the world, and then let's just watch how this world changes from this Father's Day onward. Namaste. Gracias.